For years, the world knelt before the tennis throne of Novak Djokovic. 24 Grand Slam titles, a decade of merciless domination, and a playing style as brutal as a machine that destroyed every opponent. He was the invincible king, the nightmare of every challenger, a living legend who defied the boundaries of time. But a new generation is rising, led by Carlos Alcaraz, who refuses to bow down. In a fateful moment at a press conference, Alcaraz looked straight into the camera and unleashed a declaration of war as cold as ice and as sharp as a knife. Just a few words, but enough to silence the room, make international headlines explode like a blockbuster, and send a shiver down the world's spine. The ordinary press conference suddenly became a battle to the death, where the flames of war were ignited for the US Open semifinal, a match that is more than just a sport, but a war to decide history. Is this the arrogance of a young man who dares to challenge a god? Or is it the moment of destiny, where Djokovic's great reign begins to tremble before the sword of his successor? The secret will be revealed in today's video. Don't look away. The gleaming throne and the storm of youth. Under the brilliant lights of Arthur Ashe Stadium, New York was electric with anticipation. Tens of thousands of fans jostled and roared, their eyes glued to the center court where an immortal king stood tall. Novak Djokovic, the name thundered like a drum, a living empire built from sweat, blood, and 24 Grand Slam titles gleaming like jewels in a crown. Every shot, every step, every icy stare made the world hold its breath. This wasn't just a player. This was a legend, an impenetrable fortress, a king who had reigned over tennis for more than a decade. But alas, what throne doesn't tremble when a storm arrives? And that storm was named Carlos Alcaraz, the young Spaniard with burning eyes and a heart hungry for glory. He wasn't just an opponent, he was a living declaration of war, a sharp sword ready to sever the connection between Djokovic and his throne. The world waited on the edge of its seat to see if tonight, at the US Open, history would be rewritten or if it would be just another chapter in Djokovic's endless epic. Let's rewind to the Australian Open earlier this year. The whole world whispered, Djokovic is old, his injuries will finally take him down. How wrong they were in a nail-biting match where all eyes expected Alcaraz to crush the aging king. Djokovic performed a miracle. From being down 4-6 in the first set, he turned the tables with a 6-4, 6-3, 6-4 victory. That wasn't just a win, it was a stern warning, my throne. You dare not touch. But in that moment, across the net, Alcaraz's eyes did not falter. The loss only added fuel to the fire in his chest. It wasn't the end, but the beginning of a vow. I will return, and I will take the crown from the practice court to the matches that followed. Alcaraz transformed into a whirlwind, a young warrior with Nadal's speed, Federer's finesse, and the same ice-cold composure that defined a young Djokovic. This US Open wasn't just a tournament. It was a dramatic stage where two destinies collided. Djokovic, the king with 24 Grand Slams, entered the semifinal with the confidence of a man long familiar with the spotlight. He had just defeated Taylor Fritz, a young, energetic player with endless rallies and razor-sharp passing shots. Every step was a deadly dance. Every shot, a precise sword thrust. But would it be enough to stop the Alcaraz storm? Because Alcaraz wasn't Fritz, nor was he any opponent Djokovic had ever faced. He was the embodiment of youth, of ambition, of recklessness. The US Open was his sanctuary, where he had been crowned champion in 2022, ushering in the Nadal successor era. This match, therefore, wasn't just a tennis match. It was a great drama, the immortal king versus the fearless challenger. Today, on Arthur Ashe Stadium, the lights will shine on two men, two stories. On one side, Djokovic, a man who has turned tennis into an art form, his throne into an undying symbol. On the other, Alcaraz, a young fire, ready to burn down all limits to write history. The audience in the stands wasn't just watching a match. They were witnessing a battle for the throne, where only one could walk away with the crown. The challenge under the US Open light, in the feverish atmosphere, where thousands of hearts beat wildly, a young man stepped into the press room with a proud, half smile. Carlos Alcaraz, the Spanish fire. didn't just come to answer a few boring questions. He came to drop a bombshell. I want revenge. I want to take back what I lost. And I will do it, right here at this US Open. That wasn't just idle talk from a young player. It was the roar of a warrior, a declaration of war sent directly to the throne of Novak Djokovic, the immortal king with 24 Grand Slam titles. A man who had turned tennis into his own private playground. Alcaraz didn't tremble or beat around the bush. He looked straight into the camera, as if facing Djokovic himself, and proclaimed, "Your throne, I will take it." Let's go back to Melbourne, where it all began, the Australian Open, a breathtaking evening. Alcaraz, with his explosive youth, had made Djokovic wobble in the first set. The world thought the old king would fall. That injury would be the final blow. But no, Djokovic, with an ice-cold mind and a heart of steel, turned the tables. The score of 4-6, 6-4, 6-3, 6-4 was a painful slap to Alcaraz's ambition. He left the court with a look of astonishment, like a warrior pushed down right before the city gate. But in his eyes, there was no surrender. There was only fire, the fire of revenge. From that moment, Alcaraz changed. The boy who once trembled in his first Grand Slams was now the 2022 US Open champion. A former world #1, a player the world called the Nadal successor. But titles, the spotlight, none of it was enough. He wanted more. He wanted the throne. And the one standing in his way was none other than Djokovic, the monster of big matches, whose name alone could make opponents tremble. In the press conference after his victory against Jiří Lehecka, Alcaraz sat there, sweat still glistening on his young face. He spoke in a calm but sharp tone. "I don't put pressure on myself. I just play my tennis. Enjoy every moment, but don't let that composure fool you." Behind the gentle smile was a burning heart, a ready plan to take down the Serbian giant. The Spanish media called it La Advertencia, the warning. And the whole world heard it. It wasn't just words, it was a prophecy of a coronation. On social media, Alcaraz's "I want revenge" spread like wildfire. Fans shared, debated, and placed bets. Some called it the arrogance of youth. Others believed this was the moment history would begin. Every tweet, every article, every headline was "Hot revenge warning, the throne is at stake." The whole world was counting down to the US Open semifinal, where Alcaraz and Djokovic would face off in a no-holds-barred battle. But don't forget, on the other side, Djokovic was not easily swayed. The Serbian king, with a cold smile and eyes as sharp as a blade, responded to the challenge with a mix of respect and warning. Alcaraz is a phenomenon, but to beat me, he has to play at his highest level. The words were like a sword being drawn from its scabbard, ready for a fiery fight. Djokovic knew Alcaraz wasn't just an opponent, he was a storm, the embodiment of the new generation, a fire that could burn down his entire empire. Arthur Ashe Stadium won't just be a tennis court, it's an arena where two warriors, two destinies, two eras will clash. Alcaraz, with his youth and burning ambition, is ready to rush into battle to prove that his warning wasn't just empty words. Djokovic, with the experience and grit of a legend, will do everything to defend the throne he built with blood, sweat, and tears. The battle of body and mind. Imagine this, the stadium lights shining down, and Djokovic steps out with the icy stare of a seasoned gladiator. Every step he takes is a declaration, "I am still the king," for more than 2 decades on the court. Novak hasn't just played tennis, he's turned it into the art of war. His razor-sharp backhands, impossible defense, and terrifying patience have crushed countless opponents. He's an immortal fortress, where every storm that tried to topple it has been scattered to pieces. A shot that seems out of reach, Novak appears like a ghost, returning a perfect ball, leaving his opponent to collapse in despair. But today, the one standing across from him isn't an ordinary player. Carlos Alcaraz, the 22-year-old with spring-like legs and a burning heart, is the embodiment of explosive energy. His forehand is like a lightning bolt. His cunning drop shot a deadly tango. He plays not just to win points, but as if telling a story, the story of a young warrior who wants to tear down the wall of Djokovic's glory. Alcaraz isn't just fast and strong, he's a whirlwind, a fire, an energy that makes the whole stadium tremble. This US Open is a special stage. For Djokovic, the hard court is his kingdom, where he has raised the trophy countless times to the roar of the crowd. But for Alcaraz, it's a sanctuary where he was crowned champion in 2022, where he carved his name into history as the Nadal successor. The hard court doesn't belong to anyone. It's an open arena, ready to witness a great overthrow or a lifetime victory for the aging king. Physically, Alcaraz is a nightmare. At 22, he moves like the wind, lunging for a ball and immediately unleashing a killer shot, all in the blink of an eye. There are moments when he makes time stand still, a lightning-fast volley, a court-wide sprint to return a ball, and a brilliant smile that seems to challenge the world. But Djokovic, at 38, he no longer has the legs of a 20-year-old, but he has a more terrifying weapon, a genius mind. Novak knows how to save every drop of energy, when to push, and when to drag his opponent into long, torturous rallies. If Alcaraz is the fire, Djokovic is the fortress, and that fortress has stood firm through many a storm. But this battle isn't just a physical contest, it's a battle of spirit, of will, of old wounds. Alcaraz carries the fire of revenge from the Australian Open, where he had victory in his hands but was turned over by Djokovic's iron will. That loss was like a knife, but instead of falling, Alcaraz turned it into fuel. Tonight, he walks onto the court with no hesitation in his eyes, only the desire to topple the throne. And Djokovic, he carries the weight of time. At nearly 40, every match is a fight not just against his opponent, but against the flow of history itself. Every loss to a young player like Alcaraz is a crack in the crown, a reminder that no one is immortal forever. But it is this very pressure that makes Djokovic. He doesn't just play to win, but to protect his legacy, an empire built from blood, sweat, and immortal moments. Before the fateful clash, the atmosphere at Arthur Ashe is like a pressure cooker. The crowd roars, the lights flicker, and two warriors prepare to draw their swords. Djokovic warms up with an icy gaze, like a king ready to defend his territory. Alcaraz, with a confident, slightly arrogant smile, is like a young gladiator challenging destiny. Will Alcaraz write the story of a historic overthrow? Or will Djokovic once again prove that the throne still belongs to him? The moment of transition. Tennis history has always been haunted by two words: the changing of the guard. Every generation leaves its mark, but at the same time, must hand over the spotlight to the young. Sampras gave way to Federer, and then Federer and Nadal watched as Djokovic emerged as a relentless challenger. And now, after more than a decade of dominance, that throne is being tested by a new 22-year-old. The media called this US Open matchup the clash of generations. Djokovic, at 38, is the symbol of persistence, of an undying legacy. Alcaraz, just reaching his first peak, is the embodiment of ambition and youthful energy. They aren't just hitting a ball, they're playing for a new chapter in tennis history. If Djokovic wins, it will be a powerful statement the king still sits firmly on the throne, despite his age, despite the young storms rising up. It will turn him into one of the rare sports icons to defy the erosion of time. Every new title won is no longer just a number, but a piece that completes an unprecedentedly great monument. But if Alcaraz wins, that moment will be remembered as a shocking explosion. It will be the signal that a new era has truly begun. No longer just a challenger, Alcaraz will become the successor, officially crowned in a ceremony without trumpets, but more solemn than any ritual, by defeating the king himself on the legendary Arthur Ashe court. What's special is that both of them understand the importance of this match. Djokovic acknowledges Alcaraz is a phenomenon, while emphasizing that only by controlling the ball perfectly can he win. It's an admission that the challenge ahead is unlike any he's faced in the past. And Alcaraz, with a calm voice containing a hidden fire, asserts, "I want revenge," and the US Open is where it will happen. These words, when placed side by side, create the feeling that two warriors have entered the hall of a historic battle, ready to face their destiny. The audience, meanwhile, also understands they didn't just come to watch a semi-final. They came to witness a story that will later be retold in books and in immortal highlight reels. They came to see if an empire would fall, or if it would extend its legend for one more chapter. Arthur Ashe Stadium, in those moments, is like the Colosseum of old. All eyes are on the two men at the center, where every serve is an arrow shot, every return a sword strike. A small mistake can decide the whole match, but at the same time, it can also open a new dynasty. This isn't just a transition of skill, but a transition of spirit. Djokovic represents the era of endurance, of fighting against all odds with an iron will. Alcaraz symbolizes the new generation creative, explosive, unafraid to take risks. Two styles, two philosophies, two generations all meeting at this moment. And when the first ball lands on the hard court of New York, the world holds its breath because they know that no matter who wins, tennis will never be the same again. If Djokovic defends the throne, the story of immortality will continue to be written. But if Alcaraz overthrows him, a new chapter of history will officially begin, starting the reign of youth. For over 2 decades, Novak Djokovic has built an empire that few have dared to challenge. But now, from the other side, a young Spaniard with a youthful smile and burning eyes is knocking on the gates of the throne. Carlos Alcaraz didn't come to learn. He came to declare war. He came to remind the world that no throne is eternal, and that every dynasty must one day face its final test. Arthur Ashe will be the place of destiny. Either the legend will further cement his legacy, or history will open a new chapter in the name of youth. The US Open 2025 semifinal is therefore more than just a tennis match. It is a symbol of the battle between time and ambition, between the past and the future, between an immortal king and a fearless successor. And when the last ball stops, the answer will be written. But until then, the world can only hold its breath before one truth: the battle for the throne has begun. We are not responsible if you misunderstand or misapply this content. Please consider, verify, and receive with discernment. If you liked it, give it a like, comment, share, or subscribe to the channel. That is the fuel that allows us to tell more top-tier stories about other tennis superstars.